Vulnerable is not being weak. I find it to be the opposite.
Why is it hard for creatives to balance professionalism and vulnerability?
The easiest thing we can do is to be ourselves. Don't get stuck in finding a niche. Decide what you want to do. If you don't know what you want to be known for, when you want to change people's behavior with a brand, it's very emotional.
What gets you fired up?
My big mission is...
Hey everyone, welcome to the Digital Third podcast. This is the third and final interview of the mini-series on how to reinvent yourself. And in this episode, I sit down with Anneli Hansson, a renowned brand strategist and coach with over 20 years of experience working with big brands like Coca-Cola, Levi's, and Volvo. You might also recognize her from The Future, and if you've taken her brand strategy fundamentals course. In this interview, we talk about how creatives can balance professionalism and vulnerability and how embracing our authenticity, which is the essence of who we really are, is the best approach to brand strategy. We also talk about practical steps in overcoming imposter syndrome. Guys, there's a lot of great nuggets in this talk, and I had a lot of good aha moments and that opened my eyes in positioning myself well in the market. I had a lot of fun. I hope you enjoy it as well. If you want clarity in shaping your brand and business, check out Annalie's Brand Strategy Bootcamp in the link below. Without further ado, enjoy the episode. All right, Annalie, welcome to the Digital Third podcast. It is such an honor to have you here. I can't believe it because I've been following you on The Future for so long. Okay, I'm going to start with a question that Chris often asks. For those who don't know you, can you tell a little bit about who you are and share a bit of your story?
Okay, I'm Anneli Hansson, and I'm from Sweden. I'm a marketing strategist from start, who now is more known for being a brand strategist. Mm-hmm. And I've been in this industry for like almost 30 years, doing everything from the advertising side, branding side. I've been on the client side as the CMO, CVO. And then 4 years ago, I took a deep, really difficult decision when I decided to leave client work and just start teaching and coaching creatives.
Right.
So, yeah, that is what I do right now. And that is how you know me.
Amazing. Mm-hmm. And so here we are in beautiful Vancouver Island.
Yeah.
We're at Ole's Fishing Lodge. We have been catching some fish.
Yeah.
Almost got dizzy and threw up in the water today.
Yeah, we kind of bonded. We know each other now.
Through some suffering.
We've seen this worst side, feeling so good. But yeah, here we are.
Yeah, and so I think we're very vulnerable with ourselves.
Yeah.
So I think today we want to talk about creatives being vulnerable.
Yes.
But balancing professionalism.
Mm-hmm.
And tell me your thoughts about that, because that's something that you're passionate to dive into.
Yeah, I am, because I think that Brené Brown's what she talks about is that if you can't be yourself, if you can't open up, if you can't be vulnerable around people, vulnerable is not being weak. Mm. I find it to be the opposite. To show who you are and to show what people might see as weaknesses. For me, people who do that are strong people.
Right.
And they're often confident people. Because people who are not confident, they just want to pretend to look confident. And I think we all can see through that. And that's a lot of things that Chris talks about, and a lot of things that I also been struggling with myself and still am to this day. So it's not that it's like a quick fix. For me, it's been a journey, and I feel like I'm going to be on that journey for the rest of my life.
Right.
But I'm aware of it. So I choose. You have to choose, do you want to be that? Do you want to be vulnerable? Do you want to have that deeper connection with people? Mm-hmm. And for me, that's really important. I want people to know who I am.
Right. And we were talking offline earlier about brand strategy.
Yeah.
I want to talk about this series of reinventing yourself. Mm-hmm. And I think right now there's so many creatives who got laid off.
Yeah.
And they have to start all over, or they're putting up their portfolio. They got to restructure their positioning.
Yeah.
And so I think naturally, they can update their LinkedIn or their CV and they put up this professional front.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what we were talking about before. And I'm in this phase to evolve and update my reinventing myself, who I am.
Yeah.
So why is it hard or challenging for creatives to balance professionalism and vulnerability? And why is, you shared a little bit of why vulnerability is important, but how does that actually help with being professional?
Okay, let me think.
That was a lot.
Yeah, but I think that we all have some kind of assumption that being professional is something like specific. Like I can ask you now, like what do you even mean by being professional?
Okay.
Like how does that look like for you, being professional?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say a professional is someone who has mastered their craft and skill in a certain area and presents themselves in a way that is very put together.
Oh,
buttoned up,
okay.
ironed clothes, very well presented, almost like they've perfected it. The way, let's like a sushi chef, the way they cut, it's not a messy cut or slice, it's a clean. So everything's just nice, put together proper. That's kind of my...
Okay, this is really interesting because I agree with you about the first step of knowledge and skills.
Okay.
Like I think that's professional. Like if you are a professional, we expect you to know your knowledge and your skills.
Okay.
That is like Maslow's, like the first step is like you need to master your
competency.
Competency is the first. But then I think it's really interesting that you said put together, because could you just think about, maybe mention one that comes up in your mind that you actually see as a professional person that is really good at their skills, but maybe not so put together?
Put me on the spot.
Bottom up. I mean, what you said, that's a different way of expressing it.
Yeah, to me, I can't really think of a example, but I think that's someone who's more honest and authentic. Because, you can use me for an example. I am far from being a professional. I just kind of started being in this industry 5 years. We're sharing, and even my communication skills, I'm working on that, but I'm fumbling my way upwards. So I hope that answers your question. But
we all do. And I think you're a professional because you work professionally with what you do. And I think we all need to realize that it doesn't matter. I met so many people that are so experienced. And it doesn't matter how much experience people have. We are all just humans. And we all have our insecure about different things.
Right.
Some people are insecure about social settings, about meeting strangers and new people. Other people are nervous about something else. And I always seen this. So I think it's just really important to really think about, like, say, Aaron Draplin, for example. I mean, would you say that he's your perfect picture of being professional?
I guess not like perfect. He's himself. He's just really 100% him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you say professional, would you still see that he's professional?
Yes. Yeah.
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 So now we kind of prove that you don't have to have.
Right. Okay. There you go. Shifted my definition. Right. And it's probably me coming from an engineering industry where there's a lot of suits.
Yeah.
And the calculations and work that we do have to be perfect.
Yeah.
And it's almost to the point where if your calculations are off, it's possible that people's lives are on the line, like a building falls down.
Yeah.
And I think that level of perfection and performance is very high.
Yes.
So there's like performance anxiety and that pressure.
I think what you're doing now is that you mix two things together.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you tell me what you feel like you mix?
Yeah, I think what you're saying is professionalism is more tied towards skill set and experience.
Yeah.
And then there's what I'm kind of putting in is more presentation.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Identity, maybe who you are.
Right.
Because I think professionalism can be like you're really skilled at your work, you deliver in time, you know how to write a scope, you know how to communicate, so you have a great communication with your clients. You're good at leading people. All these things for me is being professional.
Okay. Right.
But that has nothing to do with you being you. Because you talked about engineers, but it's actually basically about a product then. It's not about their personality.
Okay.
It's about the skill set, what they're doing.
Yeah, and the deliverable.
I think those two are two different things.
Okay.
So if you go back to Aaron Draplin, he's really good at what he's doing. He's really good at presenting that on stage.
Right.
He still doesn't like to wear pants. You know?
Yeah.
It's like when he has his like Levi's 501, it's like he has this, you know, he feels like he dressed up.
That's funny.
You know, that's funny. But he's also standing out because he's being himself.
Right.
And this is really something that Chris really talks so much about, but I really didn't understand it, but I really understand it now because I feel like if the easiest, Chris always said, the easiest thing we can do is to be ourselves.
That's
Because
right.
you don't even have to think. You already know who you are. So if you can work on your skill set to know that you actually have what it takes to deliver.
Okay.
And then you can find out who you truly are.
Okay.
And the people you feel really comfortable working with. Then you have a very much more clear. And then when you add this business aspect to it too, like so where I am right now as a current state, where I see myself as a desired future state.
Right.
So where I am now, where I want to see myself in 2 years, for example, what do I need to do to get to that place?
Okay.
That's more of a skill set and knowledge.
Right. Okay.
You see
this
the
is
difference?
Great. Yeah. This is awesome. Okay, so in terms of people reinventing themselves, can you give a high-level picture or approach of does one work on brand strategy, business strategy? How does one approach? And you're talking about the desired future state.
Yeah. I mean, okay, so first of all, and now, I mean, I haven't really thought about this so much. I'm just like thinking on my feet here a little bit. But I think if you want to reinvent yourself, then we need to think about what's most important. Like, why do we even want to do that?
Right.
So what would you say? Like, why do you want to reinvent yourself?
I was thinking about this because I was telling you before, my identity and how I introduce myself is I'm a former engineer because I changed careers 5 years ago. And now it's 5 years in, and I feel like I just can't do that anymore because it's like saying, oh, I'm a former single person.
Yeah.
But that was like over 10 years ago, but now I'm married. And it's just an outdated title. It's an outdated identity. And so I feel that sense of that I need to evolve and update myself. A little firmware update.
Yeah. So I think if you want to reinvent yourself, if you feel like that's important for you, I might want to start with the identity of who you are first anyway, because I think when you go deeper into that, and you might find that you always wanted to do something, but for some reason you haven't done it yet. Maybe fear is holding you back somehow. So when you know who you actually are and what you want to do, then the rest of it becomes so much easier, because I think most of us could definitely design a business out of almost anything, as long as there is a demand in the market.
Right.
You know? So to understand who you truly are. But then the next thing, and this is where I think a lot of creatives have a challenge sometimes, it's like, this all depends on where in your life you're at right now. There's a lot of anxiety around people thinking about ikigai and finding your purpose and all of that. But if you're like 25 or 20, you're just starting out, I don't even think you're supposed to think about things like that.
Okay.
Now just go for it and try things, like experience life, experience working with different clients, see what you think is fun.
Get your hands
for a
dirty.
couple of years.
Yeah.
Because how could you decide about anything, you know? So I think that's important. Also, if you're in a place, you know, in life where you might really need money, then I think we need to make a decision. Is this the time for me right now to reinvent myself and to take a big leap of faith and do something totally new? Or do I right now need the first level of Maslow's, which is actually like food on the table, paying my bills,
Right.
take care of my family? And sometimes I don't think we talk about that enough, because we talk about things that are up here
Right.
for
Yes.
people who are more experienced, a little bit older, and the people who are in the beginning of their career start feeling really anxious. Like, I also want to go there. Yeah, but it took me 30 years to get here.
Right.
You know, you can't do what
There's
I've been
no
doing
shortcut.
in 30 years. You can't do that in a year.
Right. Right.
You know, so give yourself some grace and really try to figure out what is most important for me. Is it to find myself? Do I have the time and budget to do that? Can I be without clients for 6 months to build this company? Or do I need money in 2 weeks to pay my bills? That also answers what the next step will be for me.
Got it. Okay. Okay. You may not have the answer for this, and I'm requesting for a little bit of strategy planning here. But let's say I have 6 months of runway, right? And I know there's still a lot of variables. And in terms of reinventing myself,
Yeah.
is it possible to have a business strategy, and then, like you're saying, then build a brand strategy after that, and make some revenue out of that? Or with the brand strategy, is it more of a long-term play, and you shouldn't really focus on monetary gains in the short term? It's more of a long-term thing.
No, I mean, I think this depends on what we talk about with brand strategy and from whom. Because if we talk about brand strategy for a big corporate, there's different ways in building your brand. Like, you always need to have you need to think about revenue, but you have really long-term marketing, for example, which is more brand building.
Okay.
So brand marketing, that's
see.
often connected to like how you build value in the brands, and that's not sales driven. And then you have, so
Okay.
that's a long term. Like, often what you see in like TV commercials, for example, maybe they're a little bit around storytelling. And you feel an emotional connection, and it tells a story about something, but it's not that call to action, come and buy
Right.
now. That is
Yeah.
brand marketing.
Interesting.
And then we have performance marketing or direct marketing, which is much more like, here's a product, here's a price, come and buy
Okay.
it now.
Right.
So we need to balance those two things, because we always need to sell. So it needs to be a balance between those two different parts.
Right.
So building the value in the brand awareness, that people know about us, that they trust us, they associate the right things to the brand,
Right.
but also
Interesting.
drive sales. So we have both. So back to you is a little bit different, because you're a one-person
Personal
operation.
brand. Personal brand,
personal
yeah.
brand. It's a little bit different. So what I want to say with that is, like, brand strategy for you, in my book, is much more about knowing how you want to position yourself in the market.
Okay.
So when people say brand strategy, they sometimes don't know what it is. But it's the essence of it is still a very clear positioning in the market.
Okay.
And do you need that? Yes, definitely. Because otherwise you will be like us out in the sea. It's like,
Yeah.
where do I navigate?
Where
like
do you
said.
position yourself in the
Yes,
ocean?
how do you position yourself? How could even someone find you out there? You know, you need to be findable. Someone needs actually being able to find you and know what you do,
Right.
who you do it for, and how that benefits that group of people.
Okay.
So that is basic. You need to have that when you start out.
That is so good. I love that. It's so clear. I love how you distinguish brand marketing versus performance marketing.
Yeah.
And you got to mix it up.
You need to mix it up. And it's the same, I think, for us. If you would translate that to a personal brand, you can think about it as content creation, for example.
Right.
Like, I don't like to direct sell if I don't have to in my content.
Okay.
So my content creation of giving value would be the brand marketing.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I, for example, launch a course or do something like that, then I have a call to action, but not with a big price and come and buy. I'm giving value still. In the end of it, I said, if you would be interesting, if you are a person like this, text this word, like, ManyChat and automation.
Yes.
And I will send you more information. Now we're going from building awareness to a big group of people that they actually raise their hand and say, hey, I want more of that. So that is permission marketing that Seth Godin talks about. So now they give me permission to start marketing. And I don't mind that. So when I have the permission, I have people in my email list, then I can start selling to them.
Okay.
So that's the direct, the performance marketing. So we go from content marketing, where I give value, to going to funnel them into the ones who want.
Right.
And who are interested.
Okay.
And then we do the performance marketing in the emails.
Okay, great. So now, say, I can imagine the creatives out there, they're like, okay, I'm a creative. I love expressing myself. I love putting this stuff out, the storytelling. It's beautiful, the emotions. But I'm not a sales guy. Can you share a little bit about your perspective on sales? I know you shared on a perspective shift that just kind of is just game changing.
For me, but I've been selling since I was 19.
Okay.
I love sales. I'm an old bird.
All right.
Yeah. So for me, sales have never been about convincing anyone.
Okay.
If you need to convince people, you're not doing it right.
All right.
So sales is helping people. If you like, I had a problem with serving people from start. I actually like that now. I don't know why. I think it's a personal development myself that I don't feel triggered about saying serving people, but
oh, I see.
I like helping people. So if you see sales as an opportunity for you to actually help someone with something that you can offer, if they have a problem that you can solve, and if you give value for them that you can solve it, why would you not want to do that? That's sales for me.
All right. That's great. Now then, I'll push even deeper. The pricing then, let's say it's a high ticket item, and that takes a lot of confidence to say, hey, look, I'm not just trying to grab your money. But there are some people out there who think this course is probably, say, $500, but I'm actually going to put it for $3,000, something like that. And they blow it up so much. Can you speak a little bit of that mindset around approaching pricing and being shy to charge people too much?
Yeah. Okay. So first of all, what most creatives, the deepest fear is to work with bigger clients instead of smaller clients.
Oh, interesting.
It's the opposite. It's really the opposite when it comes to pricing, because we need to realize that when you're a bigger client, you have a budget, and that budget it's you investing in things that will give a result back.
Okay.
It's not their money that they pay their private, bills with, or use to go out on a restaurant with their family. They don't treat their money that way. They see them as an investment. And what you think is a lot of money is not a lot of money for them. So, for example, when I was a CMO, I had around $6-7 million in budget.
Wow.
That's more than small, most creatives who have smaller clients, it's more than their yearly revenue. So if someone would say like, oh, so this brand strategy is like 800, they would say like 80K. I'm like, okay.
Right. Okay.
So they will freak most people out, creatives.
Right.
So, but if someone would say, this brand strategy is 10K, I would know right away that we're not a good fit.
Okay.
Because they're not used to work with clients like me.
I see.
They play a smaller league.
In a smaller pond.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also they're not used to it, So that's a money mindset thing
Yeah.
that we need to realize. The big risk for a bigger client is not that you pay more money, is that you hire the wrong people.
I see. Okay. Now take me through the decision-making process as someone from a corporate or a CMO.
Yeah.
They find someone, they like them, and then they offer a price. Let's say, do you then, what's your order of priority in making that decision? Is it, do I like this? Do I like this contractor? Can they do? I believe they can do the work. They've shown it in the portfolio.
Yeah.
And then finally, does it come down to pricing? And do you have a pre-assigned budget for this line item? And then if it checks the box, then it's just an automatic yes. Is that kind of how it is, or?
For me, in my roles, and I've been doing this for other clients too, when I help them to find agencies, I just need to know what the budget is first, and I'm pretty upfront.
Yep.
And we're not talking about like a project, because it's kind of unusual in the corporate world that you just buy a project for someone. You decide who you want to work with as an agency, and then you have a contract, every year or something like that. So we had a list of how we prioritize things. So when we're more people in a meeting, we could really think about okay, so what do I think 1 to 10 on each of these things?
Oh, so you grade them.
We grade them separately, and then we meet up and talk about it. So what do we grade? We grade ability to identify the right problem, strategy, skills, creative thinking, how creative, how you can go from kind of a problem that is presenting and find different solutions and something that could stand out. You kind of know fast how creative someone is. Communication skills, definitely.
Yeah.
How good they are at communicating.
Right.
I also look a lot about how they talk to each other and how they interact.
Okay.
So now we're talking about a group of an agency, but even if you were 2 people there, how do you interact with each other? How does it feel? And then of course I look at the vibe, if I like them.
Yeah.
It's important, because if you want to work together, you want to have fun.
Yeah.
And to work with people that you feel right away, this is not going to be a good fit.
Yeah.
I said no to 2 groups of people, creatives and agencies, for that.
Right. Wow.
It's nothing wrong with them. It's just not a good fit.
Yeah. That's great.
So the first step of having your skills, you can't pass through the other things if you don't have that. You need to be really good at strategic thinking, at creative thinking.
Right.
And then we start thinking about the other things.
Okay. That's great. Thank you so much for sharing.
You're welcome.
I love it.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to share on?
No, I mean, does that help for you? Because I'm thinking for most creatives who are smaller clients, I think the most important thing is to think about, if clients don't know that you exist, how can they even find you?
Right.
So what I don't want people to do, that I see all the time, and I think maybe, of course you do this out of fear, because it's more comfortable to do things that you feel comfortable about. So what most people do is to think about for 2 years what niche they're going to have, and then they spend another 6 months of designing a website.
Yeah.
Without even talking it to anyone. And it's no, that's not how we do it. We prototype and we talk to our potential, clients. We need to know what challenges they have, so we can help them. And that's really important. And then you prototype maybe an offer and a message, how you can write, how you can solve their problem. And then you test it on and see how they react. And you constantly evolve and do things. And when you do that, you will have a much better result than to just sitting at home for a year and working on something.
Yeah.
So it's like, don't get stuck in finding a niche. Decide what you want to do for 3 to 6 months, how you want to position yourself, for what kind of group of people you want to work with, and what you're going to offer them. And then you go all in. So you started to ask me from the beginning about positioning. Yes, it's because if you don't know what you want to be known for, it's really difficult for people to actually even remember you.
Yeah, you're right.
So that's the first most important thing. We need to decide, what do we want in our business? I can take you through this framework super fast, like brand strategy framework. Okay,
let's do it.
Where you want to go, like your business goals. Okay, how we will measure that success.
Okay.
Step 1.
This is business strategy.
Yeah, but I always start my brand strategy with that, because I can't do a brand strategy unless I know the business. So I start with that. Then I want to know, okay, so where do you see yourself in the future? That is vision.
Okay, right.
What do you do right now to get there? That's mission.
Okay.
What's your origin story that already happened? What motivates you, like to do what you do now? That's your purpose.
Okay.
What are your values? And why is that important for you? Personality is an extension of values.
Okay.
Who are you as a person, if you talk about a personal brand? Who are you, and what kind of personality do you want to show up with? Because you need to be you and very authentic. You also need to be aware of what different like characters and personality traits do you want to put out there, because that will affect how you write, your tone of voice, how your visual identity look like, a lot of things like that. So now we know who we are. So we start with who we are, and now we look out in the market and see, so who do I talk to? So who's my people? Now you have to decide my offer, who I talk to, what their challenges are, and how I can solve their problem. When we know that, we look a little bit outside and say, okay, so what kind of competitors do we have? How do we want to position ourselves a little bit different from them, but still finding this answer of solving their problem? Okay, so we make a clear positioning, which should be aspiring. So when you say like, do I do it the way I am today, or what I want to be? You should do it as an aspiring place.
I see.
So see it as you discover a new country. You put down the flag. Blair Enns talks about this a lot. I love that. Put down the flag. Here is my, area. This is my position. This is what I'm aim to do, and what I'm going to tell people about. How am I different from others? What can I solve? And for whom, and the benefits that is making. When you know this, then it's time for you to start being really clear about, what do I need to take action on to actually be what I claim that I am? Do I need to write? Do I need to read a couple of more books? Do I need to take a course? Do I need to work on something else? Because you need to make sure that gap between what you aim for in your new positioning and where you're at right now, you need to close that gap as soon as possible.
And that's the best way to get over imposter syndrome.
Yes, exactly. So when you know all these things, now you know where you want to go, where you're at right now. You know what budget you have or resources to get there, and you create a really good plan. What you need to do to actually become who you want to be seen as. That is brand strategy. It's not more complicated than that.
I love that.
When you have that foundation, just imagine how easy it is to do a brand identity design. Or a marketing plan, because now you know, a brand identity, how can I even make that if I don't know the personality, the tone of voice, the vibe, how we want to position ourselves and stand out from competitors. Like, how can you even do that if you don't have this brand strategy first?
Yeah. Okay. As you're describing that, I just see a picture of an iceberg. You know, the
Yeah,
iceberg
yeah,
analogy.
yeah.
And so
Yeah.
you start with what's below the water first. That's almost kind of like the strategy.
Yeah.
And then the identity part is the visual element and
Yes.
how you want to decorate it and dress it up.
Absolutely. I describe it as we're architects.
Yes. Yes.
And this is our blueprint for the house.
Uh-huh.
And the brand strategy is the foundation of the house. And then you start building the house. And if you don't have the foundation, you will just fall apart. And
I love it.
so that's why it's so
good.
important that's why I feel so. But why I love teaching creatives is because I know that creatives are the best people when it comes to solving problems, because most creatives are divergent thinkers, which are really good problem solvers.
Okay.
So if you give them the right tools, how to do it, they will become brilliant and start shining. Also, when you want to change people's behavior with a brand or make people fall in love with the brand, it's very emotional.
Okay.
And how do we affect people's emotions, shape people's emotions? By visuals and by messaging. So this is what a lot of creatives do. Design things, design experiences, write messaging that people start tearing up when they read. That's what creatives do. So you can just take a few steps back and realize that this is what we call brand strategy and positioning. If we can understand that this is not like you need to be an engineer or a super academic or great at math or numbers to do that. It's actually a framework and a process how to do it. If you can start doing that first, you will give so much more value to your clients.
Right.
And you will make like double revenue.
I hope so.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That is so good.
But does it make sense, like how I explain it, like step by step?
Yeah, completely. It's you're creating a map, and it's like you're going on an adventure.
Yes.
And you have a destination, and then there's the planning, and you gotta. I feel like the backpack's like your capacity of limited resources.
Yes.
So you can only pack so much, or maybe you get a bigger bag to increase your capacity.
Yeah. So I see it a little bit like, now when we've been out fishing, you get the fundamental knowledge first, because otherwise we could basically do whatever. Like we didn't even know how to do it, right? So we got this fundamental knowledge. That's why it's important to get that first. Then you need to go out there and actually do it, like learning by doing.
Right.
And then you can refine your skills. So basically what I'm doing what they're doing here. I'm teaching it. I'm preparing the toolbox and everything that they send us with, the bait, everything. And, people go out in their boats. Yeah. But they're going out in real life.
Right.
And they try things with the toolbox and the knowledge that I gave them. And then coming back and we refine things and we're getting better and better.
And some people said, I caught fish, I caught a client, or some like, nope, the tools he gave you didn't work.
Yeah,
and then you tweak. Yeah.
And sometimes we do mistakes like I did today, where it's like, okay, if we got a fish and then we dropped it, and then I told you, this is a little bit like we think we have the client, but we forgot to actually sign the contract. It's like gone, so it's a lot of analogies here. Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, I'd love to wrap up because you talk about the brand strategy roadmap with vision, mission, purpose, and motivation and all that.
Yeah.
Can you share your vision, your mission, and walk me through that? What gets you fired up?
My big mission is to teach, and when I say teach, it's not just content. I want to teach 1 million creatives to learn how to lead with strategy so that they can get paid for their thinking.
Okay.
Because when you can do that, you can go from being an order taker to a change maker. So I got this message. It's a little spiritual, but I got a message 4 years ago and I wrote it down, and it was, I help creatives shine. So I really believe in that. I believe that my gift and what I want to do for my last maybe 15, 20 years before I retire would be to help creatives to do what I already have been doing. Because I'm not claiming I didn't even go to university. So I don't claim to be an expert at anything.
Okay.
I just share my 30 years of experience. And I think if I can do that in a way that could help someone, and I could help put a spotlight on someone and feel like they feel empowered to step into their best selves, and I can just be there and train and help and give the tools. Maybe I can actually, I don't know, but it would be awesome if I could train someone in 3 years what I've been learning in 30 years.
Right.
And I think that's possible.
Yeah.
But
Amazing.
not in 3 weeks. And I think people hope for miracles, but we still got to do the work.
Right. That's amazing. Beautiful.
So can we just finish up with that imposter syndrome thing that you and I actually did have a conversation about yesterday? Because I think it's important.
Sure.
When we say that we have imposter syndrome, sometimes it comes down to not maybe have all the skills or knowledge that you actually need. And it could be that you have it, but you don't know how to present it. So we need to check in with ourselves, because it's so popular today to say that imposter syndrome is all about mindset and you can change your mindset.
Right.
But I think that sometimes imposter syndrome is a really good signal that you might have some things that you need to work on.
Right.
Because when you're really confident in something, like when you know you're really good at something, you don't feel like an imposter.
You're yourself.
You're yourself.
Yeah.
So the imposter can come up in different ways, because it could be from not knowing the skills, not knowing how to present the skills to the client. My imposter syndrome have been a lot about speaking English. Because it's my second language, and when you do this what did you call it? Reinventing yourself. I did that 4 years ago, and then you kind of have to start over again.
Yes.
So I lost my identity because I'm Swedish, and I went outside my own culture.
Yeah.
So now I didn't even know how people would react to things. I didn't know the language. And on top of that, I also started to teach and coach instead of doing client work. So there's 3 big things. So why do you think I feel like an imposter sometimes? Because I'm not great at any of these things.
Right.
I learned how to become a better teacher and coach. I learned how to speak better English. I learned how different culture works. So I think that's a direct connection to that I'm actually need to work on all these things.
Right. I love it.
That's how I see it. So I think sometimes that we need to be real. It's a balance between give yourself grace, realize that you can do anything you want in your life, but also realize that sometimes it's not so quick fix easy as you think. And when a 20, 25-year-old kid out there say, I'm a brand strategist, I'm like, or are you?
Yeah.
Because do you really know what it is?
Right.
Oh, I do social media content. Then you're not a brand strategist.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean. I don't say
That's
to sound
a real answer.
patronizing. I say to kind of keep it real.
Yeah.
Because we also need to respect different things. You don't start out as a creative director. You start out as a junior art director maybe. And then you work yourself up. And it's the same thing with this.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. So good. Mastering your craft, build your confidence, and your competence will grow.
Yeah.
And then that imposter syndrome would melt and disappear. Yeah.
But another day, I would love to have a conversation with you about your journey and how you can do it, because I see so much potential in you. I would be happy to help you.
It would be an honor.
Because I see that you have so much to offer, and I really, really want you to think and reflect about that thing we talked about with your identity and who you truly are, and how you would show up if you knew that no one would judge you. Who that Josh would be, because I think that person is someone who could go, towards the stars. If you're not showing that person, you can be a lot like a lot of other people.
Yeah.
But by doing that, it will only be one of you.
Yeah. I think the main thing you shared about it before is there's an element of fear.
Yeah.
And I'm on the precipice of just having that breakthrough, just breaking through that fear.
Yeah.
And whatever's on the other side of fear is, I guess, the beautiful real side. And I think, we talked again about vulnerability and exposing yourself.
Yes.
Because then you're naked or you're seen.
Yeah.
And then people can judge you.
Yeah.
And it's not, you don't put up a shield, because if I put up this false self or professional or well put together self, and then they make fun of that, which is kind of the imposter a bit.
Yes.
At least I know, okay, this is the real me.
Yes.
This is the front I'm putting.
Exactly.
And it's okay if they make fun of that, because that's not the real soft skin person.
Exactly.
So that's the whole thing. And you talked about being courageous. I think the people who are courageous and have a lot of heart are the ones who put themselves as vulnerable.
Yeah, and you will see right away who's attracted to you. We all attract different people. With my last, I was about to say business boot camp, brand strategy boot camp, I was a lady, and she said, I know what we can call ourselves. We're the heart people.
Yeah.
And I was like, I mean, I attract 70% women, 30 men. The men I attract into my community and my courses are very connected to their emotions. It's very purpose-driven people with very high empathy.
Okay.
That's my people, and I know it.
Yeah.
And I feel good about around those people. Then I love being with other people too. But if I talk about my tribe, my people, they like me for who I am in all my weirdness and quirkiness and everything. And that is still such a journey. But it's most because when I'm around people that are not like that I'm afraid of being judged, and I feel judged sometimes, and that's when I turn into that like people pleaser, and become really weird. And no one likes me. So it's like the people I even try to be liked by, even they don't like me. So I just realized that, like, screw that. I don't want to do that anymore.
Interesting. So people pleasing is almost like a compromise to your own character.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And it's funny thing, the more you try, the less people like you.
Wow. That's a kind of a sad thing, because you're giving up who you really are.
Yes. And they still don't like you.
And they still don't like you. It's just a double whammy.
It is.
Yeah. That's a very insightful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So screw that.
Yeah.
Do you.
There you go. I think that's a good way to end it. Do you. Annalie, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
This was so valuable. I greatly appreciate it. I would love to continue this journey.
Yeah.
Maybe perhaps on another episode
You're my captain.
Oh, no, likewise.
But you were literally my captain today, so I'm not letting you go.
Yeah. Awesome.
Okay.
Awesome. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.